Well, it's been another fascinating week and enthralling one indeed, with UEFA Champions League action all across Europe, and Nigeria Super Eagles are still celebrating their 6th World Cup ticket after booking their place in Russia 2018, courtesy a 2-1 win over Zambia, which makes their last group game against Algeria a mere formality. And the Ryder Cup, a biennial competition between Europe and the United States, is not set to tee off until next year, but some children are already getting inspired in France ahead of the showcase event. Hello and welcome along on Sports Week for this week. I'm Mayowa Ajayi on the show. NFF throws up a big party as the top guns in African football storm Lagos to celebrate Nigeria's 2018 World Cup ticket. US Ryder Cup captain Jim Furyk and European captain Thomas Bjorn on the course of the Golf National 20 miles outside Paris for a media event. That's on side view.
And again, this time goes for goal!
It's goals, goals and more goals as the big weight in European football edge closer to the knockout phase of the UEFA Champions League. Will bring you all the excitement on top action. The program is Sports Week. Right, well, it's been 2 weeks since the country qualified for its 6th World Cup in Russia, but the frenzy hasn't at all gone down. Nigeria needed a late Alex Iwobi goal against Zambia to confirm their place in next year's showpiece with a game to spare against Algeria. So then it was time for the country to celebrate, and the biggest names in the Nigerian football fraternity conversed on Lagos to acknowledge that feat. Former national team players, coaches and administrators were not left out of the occasion, which had CAF President Ahmad in attendance.
Nigeria's 2018 World Cup qualifying success has been referred to as one of the biggest achievements in the country's football history. The Super Eagles emerged the first African country to pick a World Cup slot with a game to spare, an unprecedented feat that has generated plenty of talking points.
And the cross comes, and it's a goal for Nigeria! Finally, it is Alex Iwobi who puts the Nigerians in front!
But for the Nigeria football family, the talk has been done and now time to celebrate. This was done at a choice venue in Lagos. The Nigeria Football Federation President Amaju Pinnick was the chief host of the gathering that attracted executive members of the Football Federation, first and second vice president, state FA chairman, Super Eagles coach Gernot Rohr, members of corporate Nigeria, diplomats, Football Federation presidents of Ghana and Egypt, as well as the president of the Confederation of African Football, Ahmad.
I congratulate everybody because the Nigerian football wins for this World Cup. I'm very happy because nowadays, as you told, Nigeria is the biggest in the continent for the football.
The World Cup qualifying matches are tension and action-packed moments for every country. You need to plan, you need to motivate your players, you need so many factors to play in your favor to ensure your qualification.
While invited guests were treated to sumptuous meals and drinks, the excited host Amaju Pinnick engaged Nigerian artist Dariat Alade in karaoke.
By God's grace, we're going to surpass all our previous records. We have a very good team. We just believe that we have a good team. They have the mental capacity and they have the patriotism, which is very key, because when they are playing, they are thinking of Nigeria. When they are playing, they are thinking of green, white, green. I'm happy. I have a very wonderful relationship with all my players, and it has really paid off.
Julius Agawa, who scored for Nigeria against Sweden at the 2002 World Cup in Korea and Japan, was at the party along with other former players and coaches.
It has never happened this way in a long time. We have to do some mathematical calculations to see, okay, if we lose this game, or if we win this game, or if the other team go and lose, we always do these calculations. But this time around, you can see that the players' dedication is paying off. That's why you can see that we've qualified even with a match to go. So the whole country is very, very happy. Everyone is happy that we have qualified, despite that we still have one game to go. So it's a very good development, showing that they are bringing their best to the table.
The Nigeria Football Federation is not carried away by the joy of reaching the World Cup in fine fashion. They say preparation for the Mondial has started in a bid to see the Super Eagles compete favorably and go past the second round in Russia.
Okay, I've got a veteran sports journalist, Deji Omotoyibo, with me in the studio for this one. Hello. Good to have you on Sports Week for this week.
Yeah, good to be here, Mayowa.
All right, really a great one. They say all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. That was the case with the NFF organizing, throwing up a party after Nigeria qualified for its World Cup, and you saw all the big wigs in African football in attendance there.
Well, it's always good to celebrate, but they must keep their eye on the ball.
Yeah.
It's good to qualify, but it's not enough to just sit with qualification. I'm sure they know that there's a lot of work to be done, but it was great for them to let their hair down, enjoy themselves a little bit before getting into the meat of what is ahead.
But really, when we look at the significance of this, what exactly is the ramification and the significance of that party? You saw CAF President Ahmad in attendance. We saw the football administration from Ghana also in attendance. What was the whole essence of that party?
Well, I would say that it just indicates that Nigeria has now become a big player in African football politics, so to speak. We have a say in how things are run. We're well respected, and the World Cup qualification just adds to that aura of Nigeria being a very key player in African football. Having said that, though, I feel that qualifying for the World Cup should not be enough. This will be our 6th World Cup out of the last 7, and we only missed 2006. And I think it's about time the impact of our World Cup qualifications trickles down to all ramifications, all aspects of our national football life.
Really interesting. The Super Eagles still have a game against Algeria. Many people call it insignificant, a dead rubber game against this team. But then, how important is that game in terms of generating points ahead of the draw on September 1st? Well, sorry, December 1st, I beg your pardon.
Yeah, two reasons why that game is important. You talked about trying to get a good rating so that you get in a good pot for the qualification, for the groupings, for the World Cup. You want to get a good group and you want to be in a position to be able to qualify for the next stage. For me, significantly, it's a dead rubber game, but it is the start of the qualification, it's the start of the preparation process for the World Cup, I beg your pardon. The coach can use that to try out maybe some of the fringe players. We haven't seen some of the fringe players he doesn't trust yet. Let's see what they can do in a real match situation, and we can take it from there. There have been some players that have been called up a few times, we never got to see them play. So maybe this is a fantastic opportunity for him to try out those players, knowing that he can risk a bad result. It's not going to have any impact on him. But for those players, it's an opportunity for them to put themselves out there and show us what they can do.
You talked about how they should approach the game, which is where I'm heading next. But realistically, if they risk a bad result, we know how that can have a ripple effect in terms of generating points, especially having an eye on the draw on December 1st, because everybody wants to get a good draw going into the World Cup. It's the first time, I beg your pardon, Nigeria has never gone beyond the second round stage. They really want to go far. So this might be playing out, in the minds of the coaching crew, don't you think?
Well, yes, but I also feel that beyond this game, all the other games you're going to have are friendly matches.
Okay.
They are friendly matches. You can do a lot of experimenting. You can have 8 to 10 substitutes depending on their agreement between both teams contending the friendly matches. This is a FIFA match, it's a real match situation. I can try out some of those other players. Some have said, go the whole hog and try out the chanting. I don't particularly agree to that.
Maybe suicidal.
But having said that, players like John Ogun, Wakeme, some of the other players that we haven't really seen, I think it's an excellent opportunity for him to try those ones out, because they would want an opportunity to show what they can do. And significantly, I do not think the Algerians, they're out of it, they're at home, they might play for pride, but significantly, I really don't see the Algerians pulling out all the stops to win that game. So it's a fantastic opportunity to experiment, but at the same time, you know, do something ahead of the serious business of preparing for the World Cup.
Really interesting. Let's talk about Nigeria's participation at the tournament now proper. We know how chaotic, you know, preparing for major tournaments can be in this part of the world. How do you see this one being different?
Well, I would like to say that the coach looks to me like somebody who's focused.
Okay.
He looks to me like somebody, obviously, is a very mature individual, and I think he sees this as an opportunity for him to make a mark on the world stage. You know, he's handled a couple of African teams. This is his first big job, and he's done a fantastic job so far. And there's a certain calmness around him, and there's a certain unity around the national team. We've not seen the likes of this for a while. So those are positives. He needs, I feel that the coach is the biggest factor in this. He seems to have a calm man around him. He seems to be focused. Significantly, I think he wants to do well. A good World Cup run will look good on anybody's CV. So I think he wants to do that, and I'm sure he would pull out all the stops to be focused and to prepare properly. I like the way the camp was all through the qualifiers.
Yeah.
You didn't hear any negative stories. Yeah. You didn't hear all these things about there was no fight for money, allowances, and all of that. I hope it will continue like that going into the World Cup. Again, maybe it's got to do with his age. I think he's in his 60s, possibly, if I'm not mistaken.
Naturally commands respect.
Yes, and I think he also carries himself well. And I think it's working for him.
All right, former Super Eagles coach, that's Deji Omotoyibo, has won the NFF to stop inviting foreign-born Nigerian players to come play for the Eagles. Do you think he's got a very genuine case in there, or perhaps the NFF should proceed with their plan to get these men, that's Sheyi Ojo and Tammy Abraham?
I align a little bit with
okay.
Deji Omotoyibo. There's absolutely nothing wrong in getting anybody who is eligible to play for Nigeria to play for Nigeria.
Okay.
But I think what we're doing, we're practically handing over national team shirts to these guys, and that's where I disagree.
Okay.
Some of these guys have not played. You remember there was eBay a couple of years ago, and we almost practically handed him a national team shirt. eBay hasn't cut it since then. He's just trying to rebuild his premiership career.
Who they would like to call Jordan Ibe.
Yeah, the one they call Ibe. I had to call him eBay of Nigerian. Now we're talking about Tammy Abraham, we're talking about Lionel. To be fair to them, these are guys who have not played 10 Premier League games. So, are you saying that, as far as I'm concerned, they have not earned it?
Okay.
You've got to earn a place in the national team. While we're talking about Tammy Abraham for the past couple of weeks, there's a certain Henry Yekuru who we saw in the Champions League midweek and who's been doing well, scored 6 goals in 9 games already, and nobody's talking about him. So you've got to balance it out. If you're going to get somebody who is Nigerian eligible to play for Nigeria, he's got to earn it. You've got to show us that he's better than what you already have. And, you know, I think we have this fascination with the Premier League, all of us. Fantastic, but a player has got to earn his place in the national team. The national team is not a place where you just hand shirts. And I think that's what Onibide is saying. Okay. We're practically begging some of these guys to come and play for us, and I think it's not right.
All right, that will be a case for Tammy Abraham, who denied, Nigeria the opportunity to come and play during the qualifiers. A lot of people have said he doesn't deserve a place at the World Cup in Russia. These two guys, many people have referred to them as the Oyibo War of the Nigerian Super Eagles defense. How key will they be for Nigeria at the World Cup? These are two, perhaps foreign-based Nigerian players.
They've done very well. You have to hand it to them. I liked Trust Ekong from the Olympics last year, and he has carried on from that. And Leon Balogun had injury troubles, but he's recovered from all that, and he looks in magnificent form. For me, the central defense of a team is very key, and there has to be chemistry. The partnership has got to be solid. They've got to understand each other, and I think they are building chemistry, they are building the partnership, and it can only be good. I hope we play them as much as possible in top quality friendlies, play the top teams. When the draws are made, we will know the teams we can play in friendlies and really test their mettle. And I hope they stay injury-free. I hope they have fantastic seasons in their club. But right now, the partnership looks good, and they were very, very good. Excellent, actually, during the qualifiers.
All right, really interesting to see how these two guys will fare for Nigeria at the World Cup in Russia. They have been very formidable and reliable at centre-back position for Nigeria in recent times. But generally now, let's take a look at Nigeria's chances. What do you make of Nigeria's chances at Russia 2018? They've never, like I said earlier, gone past the second round stage at any finals. Any hope of remedying that in Russia?
Well, I think we have to wait for the draws first.
Okay.
You might get you might get a very good draw. You might get a tough draw.
Not when we're hearing Messi wants Nigeria.
But I met Gennard Rohr, and Gennard Rohr said he hoped Nigeria plays Germany at the final, not in the group stage, at the final game of the World Cup.
Wow.
And I said amen to that, because that means we've gotten through to the final. That's a bit far-fetched right now, but I feel that we have a good chance of doing well. Again, I go to Gennard Rohr. Gennard Rohr, I hope it will continue in this vein. There'll be a lot of unity in the camp, as we have seen all through the qualifiers. There'll be a lot of focus. We will always disagree on the squad. If you're not going to pick players, you will agree with some, I will disagree with some, but it's his job. I feel he wants to do well, and I think he's going to pick the players he feels are the best for Nigeria. Having said that, if we get a decent draw, getting through, most countries will not want Nigeria, because obviously we have a way of getting to the World Cup and turning over some of the top teams. So some of the top teams may not particularly want Nigeria. You get a good draw, you get to the second round. What has, like the Brazil World Cup, the money situation actually derailed us. Before the France game, I don't think the players slept. They were talking about money, they were collecting their monies and sharing overnight. We should avoid all of that.
Okay.
Let them focus on what's at hand. And I think this team, because of the unity of purpose, because of the way everybody seems to be moving in the same direction, if we can continue in that vein, they have an excellent chance of bettering whatever record we've had at the World Cup.
All right, very interesting indeed. What a good opportunity for them to better their previous outings in the 5 previous World Cup. Indeed, thank you very much, Deji Omotoyibo, for your time on the program.
Always a pleasure to be here.
All right, indeed, European Ryder Cup captain Thomas Bjorn and his American counterpart Jim Furyk visited the course just outside of Paris, where the tournament will be held next year. The two, while they were there, went to a school to talk to children about golf, hoping to build the excitement ahead of next year's event. Furyk has represented the United States at the Ryder Cup 9 times as a player, and Denmark's Bjorn is the first Scandinavian to be handed the captaincy. Well, let's check out what they did over there in France. That's on Side View. Pupils from a school close to the 2018 Ryder Cup host venue, Le Golf National, had a special visit from Captain Thomas Bjorn and Jim Furyk, with the 9- and 10-year-olds showcasing their work as part of an educational program which is inspired by the biennial contest between Europe and the United States. Bjorn and Furyk are in France for the 2018 Ryder Cup year-to-go celebrations, and their first official engagement was to meet the children from class CM2 at a cool robots who have been studying the Montcanard golf curriculum. The educational program aims to introduce golf and the Ryder Cup to French school children, integrating the biennial contest into a wide range of subjects.
It's been a brilliant day in the sense of seeing the excitement about the Ryder Cup in France. You know, people that live it and tend to go to Ryder Cups all the time, they understand the excitement. We're in a country where, you know, golf is not the biggest sport, and the Ryder Cup doesn't have a history. So to bring it here and see that, you know, kids are getting involved, schools are getting involved, you know, young players that we saw out on the golf course, fantastic players come out and play extremely well and being excited. You can feel from them that they're so excited about the Ryder Cup coming here.
European captain Bjorn and United States captain Furyk were greeted at the gates of a school by class teacher Florence. The captains, along with officials from Ryder Cup Europe, the PGA of America and the French Golf Federation, then visited the youngsters in their classroom. The party were greeted by waving flags in support of both continents. They spent some time in the classroom, taking the chance to view some of the work produced by the youngsters as part of the Montcanard golf program before participating in a Q&A session with the pupils.
It's something that I was hoping I got the opportunity to do in my career, hoping that I got to do it before the age of 50 when I was still playing on tour, still knew a lot of the younger players, but it is a huge honor. I have been involved with a number of different Ryder Cups as well as Thomas has, and I'm just really enjoying the process and looking forward. As we get now, we're here a year to go. As we get closer, obviously our preparations ramp up, and I'm excited for this year.
Can be that one comment to a kid like that can make them, because we've all had it at some stage in our careers. There's one guy that said something and it sticks with you for the rest of your life, and hopefully, you know, we passed on one or two things today that they'll just stick with them for the rest of life and make them into great players.
Then the pair were joined by 8 members of the French Golf Federation Elite's junior squad. 4 boys and 4 girls for the fun contest over L'Albatros course, which next year will host the Ryder Cup for the first time, becoming only the 2nd venue in continental Europe to do so. Fittingly, the match was halved, with the challenge providing all 8 juniors with an experience to remember on the course, which will be the backdrop for 24 of the world's leading players in 12 months' time. Le Golf National France will host the 2018 Ryder Cup from September the 28th to the 30th, 2018, when Europe will try to regain the Ryder Cup following defeats at Hazeltine National last year.
It's nice that I've played in 9 Ryder Cups, that I've been there, I understand the Ryder Cup itself, but to flip the tables, to be able to serve as a vice captain for Davis Love, one of my close friends. He includes us in on a lot of decisions, gives us a lot of feedback, really just a lot of experience, and I think that's invaluable going forward.
Beyond's team will be looking to extend an impressive winning record on home soil, which stretches back to Valderrama in 1997.
He points right to Roy, and to be fair, these guys were getting along and having a great time out there and playing some wonderful golf.
Really interesting. Those children, they're happy to see those 2 great golf players. Tottenham's draw at Real Madrid in the UEFA Champions League was the moment they proved they can compete at the highest level. Borussia Dortmund's surprise 1-1 draw at Minos Apoel Nicosia means Spurs and Real are 6 points clear of the Germans and within touching distance of sealing their place in the last 16 of the competition. That marks a huge contrast for Mauricio Pochettino's side from their early exit last season. Liverpool also made history, recording their biggest ever away victory in the competition. Big spenders Paris Saint-Germain, English champions Chelsea and Manchester United were also in action. 54 goals in 16 matches tells the story more succinctly. We have that on Top Action.
Slamming against the post. Ball slid forward there by Sissoko, collected by Aurier, in towards Harry Kane. It takes a deflection and it's in, and his remarkable Champions League scoring record continues. Tottenham are ahead at the Bernabeu. It's Real Madrid 0, Tottenham Hotspur 1.
Well, the game grows. You can see that Tottenham comes into it and got the vital goal, but as you know, as the game progresses, United is not here, and of course, when this man steps up, there's only going to be one ultimate at the back of the net, and he's delivered again.
And again, this time goes for goal! Brilliantly taken by David Luiz. Takes on Fazio. And Hazard! Brilliant goal by Chelsea. Kolarov, brilliant. Oh, what a spectacular strike from Edin Dzeko. Kolarov delivers. Oh, they've done it! Pedro again. And the header's right in the corner from Eden Hazard. It's 3-3.
Okay, the Super Eagles of Nigeria moved 3 spots up in the latest FIFA rankings released this week, and FIFA also picked Gabonese and Burkina Faso officials as center and assistant referees for Nigeria's Dead Rubber World Cup qualifier against Algeria next month. We reported these stories and plenty more in the course of the week. Let's now do a recap of them all on Flashback.
The Super Eagles of Nigeria moved 3 spots up in the latest FIFA rankings released on Monday. However, they're still 5th in Africa behind Tunisia, Egypt, Senegal and Congo DR, who are ranked as Africa's top teams going by their global ranking of 28th, 30th, 32nd and 35th respectively. England moved up 3 places to 12th in the world as Germany retained their grip on the top spot. The top 6 is unchanged as Brazil, Portugal, Argentina, Belgium and Poland come after Germany in that order. Craig Shakespeare became the second managerial casualty this season after being given the boot on Tuesday. The 53-year-old was called to a meeting with the club hierarchy on Tuesday to be told a decision has been made to dismiss him. This comes after a run of 1 win in 10 Premier League games that leaves the 2015-2016 champions in 18th place this season. The English FA offered their sincere apology to Eniola Aluko after new evidence found she was subject to discriminatory remarks from Mark Sampson. Independent barrister Catherine Newton concluded in her final report that former England manager Sampson made ill-judged attempts at humour on 2 separate occasions that were by matter of law found to be discriminatory on grounds of race within the meaning of the Equality Act 2010. Goalkeeper and former Super Eagles captain Vincent Eyama is back to the first team of French Ligue 1 side. Coach Marcelo Bielsa recalled Eyama just after he recovered from a 4-month injury layoff. Prosecutors in Brazil formally charged the former head of the country's Olympics Committee with corruption during the campaign to win last year's games for Rio de Janeiro. Carlos Newsman is accused of running a criminal organization, money laundering and violating currency laws. The charges follow an investigation into a payment of $2 million to secure votes for the Rio bid.
Alright, we are about winding down on the show for this week, but before we say goodbye, let's give you a hint of what's coming up in sport. Next week, the 4th round of the EFL Cup will be on across England with Manchester United, City and Arsenal all involved on Tuesday. Arsenal host Norwich City, City at home against Wolves, while holders United make a trip to Swansea. There will also be an all-Premier League affair on Wednesday as Chelsea face Everton at Stamford Bridge and Tottenham welcome West Ham United. Alright, that's our show for the week on Sports Week. I'm Mayowa Ajayi. The show will return again next week. Till then, bye for now.